headliners. It's your first look at Saturday's newspapers with me, Andrew Doyle, and the Burke and Hare of GB News, Steve N. Allen and Nick Dixon.
I know which one's the hare.
There we go. We're going to begin with the Daily Mail. Keir Starmer's government of service might not be serving the electorate. What's this?
So, the Daily Mail, it's really important to remember it's the Daily Mail writing these words. Labour is accused of ignoring safety of UK residents. Oh, terrible. Why would they do that to us? As number of foreign criminals released from jail to walk Britain's streets reaches record high of more than 17,000.
But they didn't release 17,000.
Oh, this is the beauty of it. Official figures show that at the end of June... What was the thing that happened in July that might have meant that Labour took over then? So let's bear that in mind. 17k on the streets. The well-known, Labour government era when I think Rishi Sunak, that Labour leader, was in charge. It's the first time they've released figures since 22, when it was 12,000. So during that period, which is definitely a Tory period, there's been an increase. The Daily Mail still manages to blame Labour. I think your bias is showing. So, but I agree, if the rules are, if you're a criminal, if you're a foreign national and then you get convicted of certain crimes, you can be deported. Should be. It should make our streets safer and also help with the figures.
Yeah, they shouldn't be wandering on the streets.
No.
Clearly. Conservative MP Neil O'Brien said nothing that Labour has planned at the moment is going to make this any better. Say better than what? Better than the Tory era? But just to check, just let me have a couple more digs. OK, go for it.
Dominic Raab came up with a plan, but Liz Truss was the one who nixed it. Bear that in mind. And then the Home Office say we're committed to deporting foreign national offenders who aim to remove them from the UK. So maybe they will do something. Maybe they won't. But at the moment, this story is just wrong. OK, but wait a minute. So if we say that the vast majority of these were under the Tories, however, the escalation from... Vast majority, it's all of them, though, isn't it?
From from, say, roughly 13,000 to 17,500 in a very short space of time. Is this connected to them releasing a lot of people so that they can lock up mean tweeters?
Figures show that at the end of June.
By
the end of June. They weren't in power until July. OK, fair enough. July the 4th was the election.
Well, how much worse has it got that we don't know?
There we go.
Don't tell us. Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah, but that's an unknowable, though.
Nick, it is the case, isn't it, that a lot of people who are in this position get out of being deported by falling back on the European Convention of Human Rights, which is something Starmer has absolutely said he's not getting rid of?
Yeah. And that is the big problem, the ECHR. I mean, this is obscene. I'm calling it Operation Gotham Asylum. You just release prisoners.
Yeah, and you take Steve's point that it was mostly Tories.
I do take that, but I do also take your point that Starmer now is putting in all these new political prisoners, and that is bound to exacerbate the problem. But I actually wrote down the same as Steve, with Neil O'Brien going off about, we need to leave the ECHR. It's like, you did have 14 years to do it. So, yeah, I do think that's a reasonable point, because Dominic Cummings said, you've just got to leave the ECHR because these people are gaming the system, which they have. But no one had the guts to do it.
Why didn't they? I mean, what I don't understand about the Tories is they didn't really do any of the things that they felt they wanted to do. Whereas as soon as Labour comes in, bam, they get rid of the Higher Education Freedom of Speech Act overnight, just before Parliament goes into recess, so you can't even have a debate about it. They are just brutal with their...
It's because Labour have an actual ideological agenda, whereas the Tories are just sort of see themselves as their sort of badly managed decline. Right. That's what I think the difference is.
I mean, that is a real worry, isn't it? Anyway, we're going to move on to this story, which is the Telegraph, and this is about deporting criminals as well. What's this one about?
Yes, Germany considers paying criminal Afghan migrants to return home. And we were going to cover this story, of course, before the breaking news, which we don't know enough about yet to really comment on. But it is interesting that they're talking about... This happened after a police officer was killed by an Afghan migrant in June. Yes. So, of course, once it affects actual... which is horrific, obviously, but, it's interesting that was what galvanised them into action. It seems you can kill a lot of citizens before you can kill a police officer, but it's obviously equally awful. And so now it's pushed them into actually doing something about it.
But why do you need to bribe people to leave? Isn't deportation pretty much forced? Can't you just do it rather than saying, "Oh, please do it. Here's some dosh"?
They have a problem getting rid of people. I mean, Germany doesn't normally repatriate people apparently to countries where they're threatened with death. So they stopped deportations to Afghanistan after the Taliban took power in 2021. There's also this ludicrous thing that they'll suffer extreme poverty in their home country. So but then we found out they were taking holidays there. They've been going on holidays, which has been organised by... There's these groups that organise holidays for Afghans to go back home. So it's like, you're going on a holiday to this place that's too dangerous for you to be. So it's completely absurd. Yeah. I know, and the payment system does sound bizarre. Although at this point, I would say anything that sends some people back, because Europe needs to do something urgently.
Steve, I get it. When people have serious threats to their life by sending them back, then that's a different matter. But if you're killing people... on the streets of Germany or wherever it is, then you sort of exempted yourself from that compassion.
Yeah, you'd imagine. And also, the money won't help the situation, will it? The idea that if we send you back, you are at the threat of violence, but we'll give you some money, what, so you'll get mugged as well?
But maybe they're not at the threat of violence, as Nick says.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a lie, because they're going on holiday there.
Then the money wouldn't make a difference, would it? I mean, what's likely to happen, it's like the £3,000 to go to Rwanda, that second scheme to make it look like anyone went to Rwanda. All you're going to do is pay for their return flights.
OK, well, look, we're going to move on to the Express now, and today marks 50 days under our new Labour government. Steve, how is it going?
This is going to be another one where I don't end up being too harsh about Keir, so I look forward to the hate online that I always get when I do these. Keir Starmer, this is the Express that says it, Keir Starmer reeling.
He's reeling.
Look at him reel. As Labour membership hits 10-year low under his leadership. Oh, he's reeling, isn't he, this guy? Sir Keir has been dealt a crushing blow, their words. Just weeks into this, it's slumped to its lowest in 10 years. Is he reeling, though? Let's look at it again. Some of this could be like the Gaza effect, but a lot of this is it's lost 37,000 members last year. The membership is now 370,000.
Yeah, but you can't pull this thing you did last time because he was in power. He was
a leader.
He was actually leader then.
And when it was a lot higher was when Jeremy Corbyn was leader. And this is Ed Miliband's fault. They changed it so that, you become a member, get a vote, and the Corbyn happened because so many people of that political group thought, let's get someone like Corbyn in.
Yes.
Keir Starmer, he's not going to be going, oh, no, come back. He must be so grateful that these people who love some Corbyn are no longer involved in the party. This is win-win for him. Is he missing the money? Not so much, because actually they've had some big donations in there as well. So I don't think he's reeling.
You know what, Steve? I haven't met anyone who is enthusiastic about Keir Starmer, and I've met his wife. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, great point. Yes, I think he's very unpopular. Steve's going to deny it. I do think that some of this is due to that thing where under Corbyn they let everyone in, every single nutter in for a quid or whatever. So some of it will be a result of that. But he does seem very unpopular. On the left, he's unpopular because of the winter fuel thing and because of Israel. And amongst normal people, he's unpopular because of the terrible response to the riots and the attack on the British working class. So, yeah, I do think memberships will fall apart. Starmer will continue to plummet. I know you love him, but his approval rating is plummeting.
Again, you've done the thing of me actually trying to find...
You love him.
The story doesn't mean I love him.
You want to marry him.
I'm not saying he's not unpopular. I'm saying he doesn't give two flips whether he's unpopular or not. He won't miss these people.
The danger, though, is that he's occupying the increasingly flimsy iceberg of the theoretical centre. He's losing the left, he doesn't have the right, of course, and that's that shaky ground that Macron tries to occupy, but it's not clear that it will exist.
He ain't reeling, though. The Express are wrong in trying to paint...
Oh, he's reeling.
Oh, I love that word, reeling. Bring it back.
He's not real all day.
He's having a good reel. He's keeping it real. Let's move on to from Labour's progress to an update on the Tories, Nick. How are they? This in the Telegraph.
Yeah, Labour voters would rather back Reform UK than Tories. So it was a poll of more than 1,000 Labour voters, and it was done by Arden Strategies. And although the second most popular, because these were, Labour voters, was the Liberal Democrats and the Greens, but still Reform fared a lot better than the Tories. I think it was Reform of on 14% and 6% had the Tories as their second choice. So it's not that surprising because, one, everyone hates the Tories, especially if you're Labour. And I suppose, two, you might have that red wall vote that's more likely to go across to Reform. As I said before, the stats show that if you're under 20,000 a year, 14% voted Reform, and it sort of goes up like that. The more money you have, the less likely you are to vote Reform. So that makes some sense. And actually, just as a quick anecdote, someone stopped me on the street in the heart of communist North London, the most middle-class lefty North London place. And they said, oh, I love the show Headliners on GB. She was someone that had voted for Corbyn as an independent, but if he had not been standing, would have voted Reform. So the patterns aren't as we sort of imagine. They're not as simple as you imagine. People are voting for things like authenticity, and they just hate the Uniparty.
Yeah. Well, things are changing politically, aren't they? There's no denying it.
Well, it depends whether you think you're left-wing economically or socially. There's there are two different things there. Ardent Strategies, I think, they're the ones who did Wallace and Gromit as well. I just thought I'd throw that in. But
is that because we were talking about Miliband earlier?
Yeah, it must be. He's got that look. He's good, isn't he? But it says, my favourite thing in the whole article, its findings would appear to support the claims by Mr Farage that Reform is a more credible opposition. If we defined the opposition as the preferred second choice of people who voted for the winning party, which seems like a really terrible way to define opposition.
OK, well, look, that's the end of part two. On to The Guardian now. Some unsolicited advice from the UN. Nick?
This is so annoying. So, UK must curb rise in racist hate speech by politicians and public figures, UN says. So for some reason, the UN is sort of weighing in.
Yeah, but who? Who are they talking about?
They obviously mean people like Farage, don't they? They mean politicians they don't like.
I haven't heard any UK politicians saying racist things. What are they talking about?
I've got no idea.
I read Diane Abbott a while ago.
I read the whole thing and I still don't know, Andrew. I mean, they say the UK should consider making a formal apology for its involvement in slavery. I mean, we did end it. There was also that. I mean, this is coming from a Turkish academic. You might want to check their record on human rights. Might want to check if the Ottoman Empire has made an apology.
No, they were the Empire of Peace.
Yeah, it's completely absurd. If they're going to come on, I do think we need outside international help at the moment, but we need it to stop British people being persecuted by Starmer and getting these absurd sentences. But we certainly don't need them to intervene telling us this. It's the usual. They're trying to sort of lay the groundwork, in my opinion, to go after things like X and to go after people like Farage. What are you laughing at?
I can see your note.
Oh, yeah. I can't say that on the telly.
No, we can't read that out loud. But Steve, the thing about this is there's no examples given, which makes me think there are no examples.
Yeah.
And what's the point? You know, the UN makes this kind of ridiculous statement. No one's going to do anything. It's not like we're going to say, OK, you're right, let's ban a few politicians that the UN don't happen to like.
Yeah, I love the idea of not giving... Because if your argument is you've been saying racist things, and then someone says, no, we haven't, yeah, you have, and you come out with a list, that's how you win that argument.
There's a wonderful thing called quotation. Where is it?
Yeah, but they're including invaders, illegals, and slogans such as stop the boats. So apparently we're just, we're getting like children stabbed all the time, not necessarily by migrants. I understand that some of it's not, but we're having all these crimes. We've got this horrific situation in the country, and some Turkish guy from the UN is telling us we're not allowed to say stop the boats. Do we have to welcome the boats?
You've got to remember, we're in a world where the countryside is considered racist now. So you could just advise that someone goes for a walk through the Lake District and you'd be called a racist.
Yeah.
Or is that just me being a bit...
Well, I'm from the lakes, and that's where I learnt my ways.